What is good, Niner fans? How we doing? Big day in the Bay. You know what I mean? It's the Warriors game day, game 6. Will game 6 Jimmy Butler be born? Will the torch be passed? And will Steph Curry have another generational performance? Can they win? We'll find out. But today, let's talk about your San Francisco 49ers. A little bit of news came out about the Niners today. Obviously, you guys may have seen the information. We're going to talk about it. And there's been a couple of tidbits here and there over the last few days we'll discuss. And, I got a couple of videos to play, which you've probably seen on social media, but we'll kind of react to them. But, hopefully everybody's doing good. It's a Friday in the Bay. I'm happy to be here. I hope you guys are happy to be here. Good afternoon. Rob says, right on time. For once in my life, I'm on time. I'm usually late. But Steven Reynolds, he said, what's good? He said, it's Dwelley time. Peanut butter Dwelley time. Gold Rush says, still no Purdy. I think they'll figure it out as soon as we, hit June. I think that's good. That contract's going to take a little while. But the 49ers today, they signed big Ross Dwelley on a 1-year deal. It's not a groundbreaking signing, but this is George Kittle's buddy. They were tight end, partners, tag team duo for many years. He played with the 49ers for a few years, and then he went to Atlanta, but he came back. He's a decent pass-catching tight end. They didn't address tight end in the draft. They extended George Kittle this week. This is probably part of his return. Say, hey, go get me Ross the Boss back. He likes – those two guys are boys. They're like good friends, and, he ran it back now with the Niners. And if you remember, the 49ers did sign a tight end in free agency, a blocking tight end. So the 49ers might actually be pretty set now at tight end with the way this went down. So they signed Luke Farrell, if you guys remember, in free agency, and he's a fantastic blocking tight end. That's the Charlie Warner replacement. So now 49ers have Kittle, Luke Farrell, they got Ross Dwelley. Those are your 3 tight ends that are going to make the roster most likely. I don't think Ross Dwelley is going to get passed off by one of the backups. You have Jake Tongas. Maybe Tongas might make the roster. He's decent. You got Braden Willis, the rookie he was a rookie a couple of years ago. He just hasn't hit that, potential they thought. They thought they were going to get something out of him. He hasn't really developed much. And they also drafted Cameron Latu that year. He's not on the team anymore. They do have Mason Peline. That's the guy that, is probably going to be practice squad. Maybe he'll step up and make the roster. I don't know. But to me, right now, looking at the tight end room, you got Kittle, Farrell, Dwelley. Those 3 guys are automatics. You're going to have one more tight end make the final roster, most likely. They usually go 4 tight ends. If they go 3, those first 3 are making it. And then it's going to be a battle between Jake Tongas, Braden Willis, and Mason Peline. I think Mason Peline's probably the better one out of those 3, but, Tongas, he was not horrible last year. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Braden Willis, he'll probably stick around on the practice squad. Unfortunately for him, like I said, he just didn't develop much and just hasn't been able to do much for this team, So that is your guys' tight end room. And, Ross Dwelley, hey, you know what? He spent a lot of years with the 49ers. He was with the 49ers from 2008 until last year. And really, the 49ers added pretty much a tight end or a positional group from every position except tight end last week during the draft. So tight end, is the only position group with the 49ers didn't add a rookie last week. And I was surprised. I for sure thought they were taking a tight end in this draft, and they didn't. This will basically wrap up their 90-man roster. The 49ers have everybody on their roster that, counts to the 90-man. And now they can kind of start trimming it down. Mini camps coming up, rookie mini camps next week on the 9th and the 10th. Then after that, you got the OTAs, the next phase of that with the team, and then mandatory camp in June. And then after that, they get a little bit of a rest. And then they're back by the end of July, August, and we're ready to go play some football again. So it's getting there. The Niners pretty much have filled out their roster. They got their rookies. They added a few players over the last few days. Humphreys, the offensive tackle. They added a veteran tight end, which is Ross Dwelley, a guy that knows a lot about the 49ers. So I think overall the 49ers have done a pretty good job of, fixing this roster. They added a lot of special teamers, we all know, in free agency. They added the blocking tight end, Luke Farrell. So they were able to sit in the draft and go defense heavy because they lost a lot of defensive players. So overall, not bad. I think the 49ers have done a pretty solid job this offseason. You got rid of Nick Sorensen. You got Robert Salah back. You got rid of Brian Schneider. and you got rid of Brandon Staley. I think it's a dub overall. So let's take a look. A second-round pick for George. That's crazy. We're going to talk about that too. So let's see. I might have the video. Let me see if I have it so we can play it. And we're going to talk about this. So welcome back, Ross Dwelley. That's the big update of the day. Let's take a look. All I'm going to say is I'm giving Deanna Rossini some time here, and I can't believe it because now we all saw the update, the report, we should say, from Deanna Rossini. You remember a couple weeks ago, she says that Kittle and the Niners are far apart from talks. He's not coming to OTAs because of contract negotiations. He refuted that. He was like, look, that's not the case. Check your sources. And she says he wanted to be the highest tight end, the highest paid tight end, which, to me, of course, if you're going to get another contract extension, you just saw McBride set the market. You would expect him to be the highest paid tight end. So I don't even think that was what George Kittle was refuting. I think he was basically refuting, saying that, hey, it wasn't because of the contract I wasn't at OTAs. I was literally at WrestleMania this weekend, probably getting a little drunk, and he needed a day or two to recover. It's okay. And he's been training. He's been working his ass off in Nashville. You've seen the videos he's posted. He trained with Brock Purdy a few weeks ago, like in his backyard, like quite literally in his backyard. They went to the Predators game. The next day they're training. So I don't think Kittle was, missing OTAs because of the contract. And then boom, he got the contract extension, which was 6 days after all that malarkey was coming out. And boom, they got it done pretty quick. And remember the reports, even Michael Silver said they're far away from a contract. Because remember, Mike Silver reported that he's in jeopardy of not coming to OTAs. Oh my God, George Kittle, what is going on? They're far away from contracts. I remember reporting that. And then boom, literally 6 days later, he signs on the dotted line, 4 years extension. It was boom. Parag took over the contract, is from what I understand, my sources. Parag wasn't the one maintaining the contract because he has an assistant. Parag's a busy guy. He has Fred Warner, George Kittle, Brock Purdy. He has leads, all the soccer team that he was taking care of. So he had his assistant help him. When Parag actually took control of the contract was done like that. So what Deanna Rossini was saying was a bunch of smoke. And then she doubled down. And then she said that her sources weren't wrong. I was actually listening to her YouTube this morning, and I was like, all right, let's see what she has to say. And she says, my sources weren't wrong. Oh, George Kittle, he got the highest paid contract. I told you so. Like, she was literally sitting there saying, I told you. Come on, man. It's over with. It's done with. She wanted to get the last word. So today she goes out there and she reports this. We're going to play it. This is what
I know there was a team that had a conversation with the 49ers the night before the draft about a possible trade for Kittle, a second rounder they were looking to get in return.
Oh, what?
They turned it down. The 49ers decided to keep him and really move this situation forward by getting a deal done. But there was a little interest there, some poking around.
Why didn't they move him? The second round pick for a 32-year-old tight end, that seems like a really good return on investment, no?
I don't think the 49ers ever wanted to walk away from George Kittle either. I don't think George Kittle wanted to walk away from the 49ers. I think they always wanted to be together. Everyone just wanted to feel like they were winning in the negotiation.
Could you imagine Kittle not a 49er? It doesn't make sense.
So there you have it. Deanna Rossini with the smile and all. While she's reporting, she's smiling because I don't buy it, but whatever. If it was true, if that is an actual true statement that the 49ers had a second round pick on the table, they still wouldn't have done it. They love George Kittle. He wanted to be a Niner for life. Like, he means so much to the team, the community. Yeah, second round pick's pretty damn good, but I feel like George Kittle still can produce at a very high level. You saw what he did last year. He was amazing. He's still probably the best tight end in the league. He does so much. You give him 2 more years for the body of work that he's put through over his career. I think, it's a 4-year extension, but if you look at the way it's structured, he's probably getting 2 more years with the Niners, and then we'll figure out if they're going to pick up the options and all that stuff. But Deanna Rossini's crazy. Like, she just and I watched the rest of that. That was just a clip she put together for, Twitter and stuff, the little short clip she did. Watch that whole thing on her podcast. She's getting her views. We're all talking about her. That's, what she wants. So she did her job very well. But she said, Kittle, he came at me. It is what it is. I was right. My sources weren't wrong. Like, she was really taking him down. Obviously, she's not going to post that part on the fancy clip. That's a good clip to get the viewer in, and then it hooks you and you go watch her video. So she knows what she's doing. I'm not going to say she doesn't. She understands content. She understands how to get the views, but she's smiling like the whole time and like, oh, I got some cute information for you guys. I don't buy her. I just can't believe she had to get the last word in today. Like out of nowhere, all of a sudden, this news comes out today that, 49ers, we're going to trade, or they got a trade request. They denied it. We'll see. When John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan are asked this question in a few weeks, a few months, whenever, we'll see what the real story is. But I hope she comes out of this wrong. But even still, even if it is true, Niners, they were trying to make sure this contract with George Kittle gets done. They love him. He's a, team captain, a leader, one of the greatest Niners of all time. So I think they really wanted to make this a big deal. And hey, George Kittle, we're going to pay you the money you deserve, and you're going to be a Niner for life, which you've always wanted. So, I don't know. Deanna Rossini's crazy, and she's just got a lot of information out there that she says it's a source. I feel like she's kind of losing some credibility. She did say today also in that same YouTube video, if you watch it through, she talked about Brock Purdy and Fred Warner. She says she thinks that Brock Purdy's contract is closer to being done than many people think, because obviously the media, Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport are saying they're far apart in negotiations. But then she said, oh, well, if he's in OTAs and he's in voluntary practice, of course he's going to be closer to a deal than many people think. So it was an opinion. It wasn't a source. She says, I believe that Brock Purdy's contract is closer than many believe, right? And it makes sense to say that because of the fact of, Brock Purdy came to OTA. So you can kind of sense things together and put 1-on-1, to make two. So I feel like that was something she tried to get out there, and people weren't really posting it like she wanted, but it was in the report. And she says that she also doesn't believe that Fred Warner is going to have any issues with his contracts, but we've kind of figured that, right? John Lynch pretty much told us that, but people forget these things that Lynch says, and then they reword things. These reporters, they reword things in a way that it makes it sound like, oh, it's new information. It's really not. So that's what Rossini's doing. So Debtopia says every team calls the Niners about lots of players. It's due diligence. Yeah, I'm sure people called about George Kittle. I'm sure people have called about Nick Bosa. I'm sure teams have called about every player, especially during the draft. You guys know in the draft process, everybody's calling, everybody's, trying to make deals. People are wheeling and dealing. Even the Niners, they tried to trade up to the 8th pick for the Carolina Panthers to make sure they got Mykel Williams. It didn't happen, but teams are going to do their due diligence. So yeah, I can imagine that a team might have called and said, hey, on George Kittle, 2nd round pick. What do you think? I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised if it happened, but it's just interesting that this information came out now after Rossini was looking like a silly goose. She was looking like a silly goose out there. So Crazy Juices, we brought back Ross Dwelley just so he could sit on the bench again and to keep Kittle happy. I think that's another thing. George Kittle loves Ross Dwelley. And also, again, he's better than some of the other tight ends they have on this team. It's not like they're going to utilize him much, but Braden Willis, we talked about, Mason Peline, and then Jake Tongas, those three guys, I don't know if they're going to be able to beat out Ross Dwelley in camp. And then you got Luke Farrell, right, the blocking tight end, who for sure is making this team because they've been trying to replace Charlie Warner last year. They tried to replace Charlie Warner last year. It just didn't work. They need that blocking tight end to help Kittle, take some pressure off of him. So, it made sense. It wasn't like a groundbreaking move, but they had an extra roster spot to utilize, and they didn't really go after a tight end in the draft. So they didn't go after a tight end in the draft. So it makes sense. Christine says Fred and Kittle would be Niners for life. It's pretty cool, huh? Two guys that were drafted, early from the 49ers, 2017, 2018, two really star-studded players that became leaders of this team, and most likely both going to retire as Niners. It doesn't happen a lot. Players nowadays with free agency, they chase the bag. They're not, I wouldn't say they're not loyal. They just do what's best for business, and they move to other teams. It's harder to stay loyal to a team when teams are throwing millions of crazy money at you, so shout out to Fred, shout out to Kittle. And, I know they're making millions, and it's probably not as big as a hit as me and you, but the taxes and the way the economy is and salary in California relative to other cities and states, that makes a big difference. Like, you're getting paid, let's say you're getting paid $10 million a year. In California, you lose a lot of that in taxes. So you're not making $10 million. Then all the expenses you're making, your housing, your cars, everything like that. Like, yes, they're a lot more comfortable than me and you, but it's still a big thing. They're still losing a big chunk of their money when they stay in California. So sometimes I feel like a lot of players don't always want to stay in California because of those factors. So shout out to Kittle, shout out to Fred Warner. Those two guys are a rare breed, a dying breed of players that stick around for so many years nowadays. But the way sports kind of moved over the last 2 decades with free agency and all the money and the salary cap, it's definitely interesting to see how, the sports in general have changed. Players leave a lot because they can be offered money elsewhere. And I don't blame them. I would do it, right? I would do it for a check. Deb Topi says, Joe Staley, yeah. Niner for life. It doesn't happen a lot, right? He stayed through the Niners, 12, 13 years. Patrick Willis stayed with the Niners. Unfortunately, he retired, but I think he would have stuck around with the Niners had he extended and kept playing a little bit. Frank Gore, he didn't retire Niner. He jumped around the league. He wanted to come back and retire as a Niner, which was amazing. But, even Frank Gore left the Niners, right? So Jerry Rice, right? He didn't stick around with the Niners for his whole career. It's unbelievable. When I saw him on a Seahawks jersey or Raiders jersey, I was like, what's going on here? But that's the business, man. Yeah, I miss Joe Staley. Good dude. So those are the big stories pretty much of the last few days. Let's take a look at some other things that may have happened. Let's take a look. 49ers, I'm going to play some videos here and we'll kind of react to them. The 49ers have been golfing. The team actually is pretty cool. They had like a whole special player engagement golf event, and they're actually still going on. I think it's through the next couple of days. Like there is content they're posting on their social media. And, a couple of days ago, I'm sure you guys saw the picture. It went viral. Brock Purdy was home eating some tacos. They weren't really authentic tacos, but, he's eating, and it was on his wife's Instagram, and she's like, hey, taco mania after golf or something. Then now these pictures come out with him and Ayuk and Kittle and everybody. They've been golfing. So it makes sense. He went and played golf all day with the Niners, came home and had a nice meal with his wife. A little, home cooked tacos, beef tacos with the wife. So Kittle's living his life. Brock Purdy's living his life. He's got no pressure. He's not worried about the contract. But the cool thing is why I brought this up is all the players are there. Not all of them, but most of them. Nick Bosa, Christian McCaffrey, Dominic Pooney, Malik Mustafa, like Brandon Ayuk's there. All of these players are there, and they're vibing. The chemistry is insane. Like, you also saw the reports that pretty much everybody on the 49ers team came to OTAs. They pretty much got best, full attendance. Trent Williams is there. He usually trains in Texas. He doesn't come to these voluntary practices. He was there. Nick Bosa was there. He's usually training in Florida with his brother. He came. The vibes are different, man. Fred Warner's there. George Kittle, definitely, he's there now. Like, everybody is there. They're happy. They're locked in. The vibes are on another level. I feel like something special brewing. Good stuff. And I got a video from that, from the golfing stuff. This was posted to the 49ers Instagram story. Now, check this out. The reason I'm playing this, look at Malik Mustafa's knee. It looks like he's recovering well. He had the injury, right? It was reported last week that he re-injured his ACL. Check this out. This looks very promising, in my opinion.
There you go.
There you go. Malik Mustafa looks like he's recovering well. I know it's a small clip, but, I mean, he looked like he was able to plan on it. He looked like, he is recovering well. Now, we'll see what, his recovery is going to be over the next couple of months. There was reports that said that he's going to be out till midseason. His family keeps saying he's going to be back week 1, but he looks strong. He looks healthy, and he looked pretty, energetic in that video. So pretty cool. It's pretty nice to see all the 49ers players, coming together. It's just a lot of camaraderie. The vibes, again, are up. Chemistry is on another level right now. I feel like this team is just all good vibes, and I love it. So good to see. I feel like this offseason is already just so much better than it was last offseason. Last offseason was just a hangover from the Super Bowl. The team was just they they really didn't get any rest. You know, obviously a couple of years of playoffs and division championships and Super Bowl and losing, it does a lot to you mentally and physically. So I feel like this year they're just more recovered. They're hungry. They got a different mentality. So it's good to see all of them, you know, kind of together. And you guys saw the pictures, the 49ers social media, myself, we posted all the cool images of the players golfing together. Kyle Shanahan's there. Robert Salah is there. There's video on their Instagram right now on their story. Like Frank Gore and Delaney Walker are there. Patrick Willis is golfing with them. You got Jerry Rice golfing with them. It's like alumni, the 49ers current players. I think Jesse Sapolu is there. It's super cool. Like, check out their Instagram story. I might have to post all this later. But they're all vibing together. Everybody's there. Old players, new players. It's a good event, man. I feel like the vibes of 49er football are on the right way. It's a right way. It's definitely, Rick says it's definitely better vibes now. Yeah. AJ says, seeing all players together, even with pending contracts, can this be positive? Absolutely. It's definitely positive. You got contracts coming up, right? Brock Purdy, Fred Warner, they got contracts coming up, but they're still enjoying their time with the team. I haven't seen this with 49ers before. Like, usually it's weird. It's like secluded groups maybe together because, you know, you got, Debo working on contract. You got Ayuk working on contract. You got Nick Bosa working on contract. And this year, okay, everybody's there. Everybody's cool. Everybody's getting their contracts. It's a different. I think this team really, really understands. This is the Super Bowl in freaking Levi Stadium. We want to be there. We want to be at the damn Super Bowl. We don't want to be watching two other teams. We don't want to see two other teams, 106 players, 53-man roster on two teams. We don't want to see 106 players playing on our damn field in the Super Bowl. We want to have 53 of our own players on that field. And that's the mentality I feel like this team has. And they're being counted out. They're being disrespected. They're being, you know, touted as underdogs. Vibes are definitely up right now. So you love to see it. You love to hear it. And, you know, you got people just doing a lot right now. This was and that's Sam O a couple of days ago, just putting in work. Like, he knows, hey, now he's got Michael Williams there. He's going to compete. You're going to have Sam O, who's just probably going to be a bigger piece of this defensive line. Like, he's hungry. He's been working out a lot. I know it sometimes like, players, they got to work out. But it's good to see what these players are doing and how they're preparing. It's like usually the content we have of the offseason. That's what we get. That's what we're provided for. I love these videos because it shows you like, oh, man, this guy's super motivated. He really wants to get it. You got Michael Williams they just drafted. Sam O, he's going to be better this year. It shows you that, hey, man, these are the guys on our team. This is the work they're putting in to prepare to be, you know, having a good season. So I know people were saying, oh, this D-line was really bad. Oh, my God, they're depleted. But now look at after the draft, okay? You added Michael Williams, Alfred Collins, C.J. West. You know, you added now you got Sam O on this defensive line. Last year you had Evan Anderson, who was a bright spot. You got Kevin Givens. You got Jordan Elliott, you know. Defensive line starting to look better than it was a couple of weeks ago. You got Yatur Gross-Matos, who, when he was healthy, he looked pretty good. Can he stay healthy, you know? He doesn't have to be an every down lineman now. You got Nick Bosa. I really am pretty excited now with how this defensive line is going to take place with what they added. So pretty cool to see all that good stuff. So a couple other things we'll play here. Let me take a look, see what we got.
Would love for you to touch on Bo Nix, man, and his recruitment role. Did he have any?
Yes. Okay. So let me preface this video. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Talanoa Hufanga recently had an interview, obviously former 49er. He talked about what, you know, some of the reasons why he left the 49ers. Now, I know all this doesn't matter anymore because he's gone, but, you know, we brought it up. We're going to bring it up. A lot of people were talking about this, and they said that they think that maybe he's shading Brock Purdy. I'll let you guys decide. We'll talk about it. I'm going to play the video clip, and you guys let me know what your thoughts are on it.
Would love for you to touch on Bo Nix, man, and his recruitment role. Did he have any part or say in recruiting you, or did he reach out, and your thoughts on Bo as a quarterback?
He reached out immediately. Got to see him when I came on when I signed, the day I signed, and got to chop it up with him. He's a guy that's just been a gamer. You know, when you really watch him way back in the day, like I watched him a lot when Oregon, because I am from Oregon originally. So,
okay.
You know, kind of watching him, like you just kind of watch the team and just kind of seeing what he does. But everybody was kind of like skeptical about his rookie, and he just came out here and balled. And that's what I love about it. And so, even talking to Dre, he was my locker partner at the Niners. And then when we came here together, we're like, man, like when you got a quarterback that can go out there and really play, and as a defense, like, you can, it's not just 3 and out. There's a lot of teams like that in the NFL, and so for us, it was like, man, we got potential here. And so why can't we come over here and help change? But he's the reason. And I think a lot of guys in the locker room be like, the atmosphere has changed a lot in these last few years. Just, seeing what they went through, and then having a guy like Bo come in and do what he does, and the way he works. Like, I've just been around it so far in the OTAs. Like, the dude hustles. And so
Love it.
Excited to work with him, and excited to hopefully go the distance.
There you have it. Talanoa Hufanga says he's excited to work with Bo Nix, and they should. He's a good young quarterback. I think he has a lot of good potential. I think he's definitely going to be one of the better younger quarterbacks in the league. And the thing he said, though, where he's like, a lot of these teams, they go 3 and out. We wanted to be here. Me and Dre, we talked about it as my locker mate in the 49ers, and we both were excited to play with the quarterback that can move the ball down the field. Now, that's where people felt, if you go online and see the comments everywhere, people are thinking that he kind of shaded Brock. I don't think he shaded Brock. I think he's just saying in general, there were teams that were looking into him, and he didn't want to go to those teams because he didn't have a good offense, and it's just going to put too much pressure on the defense. And, both of those guys had some injuries, and I think they were both making sure that, hey, we need to make sure we go on to a team that we don't have to do all the work. We're going to do a lot of work for sure, but we can't do everything. Dre and Huff, I think they understand that, yes, they can play at a high level, but they need some time to rest during plays because they both had big significant injuries here and there, so they don't want to risk getting worse, And I think Bo Nix is a guy that can, really make this offense go crazy. But I don't think it was a shade to Brock. I saw people post it. I thought about posting it last night. I was like, should I throw this out there and ask the Niners what they feel? But I felt like they would have ripped the shit out of Huff, and I don't think that was his intention in saying anything bad about Brock. But, some people, when they see a video like that, they hear one little thing and they're like, okay, he doesn't care about Brock. He's only going to the Broncos because of Bo Nix. He thinks he's better than Brock. That's how people interpret that, but that's not the way I interpreted it. But it is interesting, and I figured I'd play it. So I had the clip. I want to at least play it somewhere, so I'm not going to post it anywhere. So, good stuff. I respect Huff and Dre, and I wish them nothing but the best. That's all I'm going to say on that. So, of course, Rob says, of course, he's going to talk his new guy up. And yeah, I agree with that. Of course, you go to a new team, you're going to butter up the new players. You're going to butter up to the quarterback. You're going to, earn some respect from the team. And I think that's pretty much what it is. If anybody comes to the Niners, they're going to hype up Brock. They're going to hype up the Niner players. They're going to hype up, Robert Saleh or whoever their, coach is, their positional coach is going to be here or whatever. So I feel it's just more like you go to a new team, and of course you want to be positive and fit in, and you want to be part of that culture. You don't want to rip their quarterback. Like, why would he sit there and rip Bo Nix? It's your new quarterback. So I didn't think anything bad of it, but there was definitely people out there. Trust me, when I saw this yesterday, I was like, oh man, these Niner fans are not too happy with him saying that the way he said it, but I don't think he threw shade at Brock, but definitely interesting. Yeah, Nav is definitely ripping into him on the comments. He says he never liked him. I don't know. I thought Huff was cool, but definitely wasn't a guy that I was worried that we were going to lose. I definitely thought we were going to lose him. And, I think he played great. He was a good person off the field. I've met him a few times, but, he definitely was slow after the injury and slower after the injury. He never was like breakaway speed type guy, but good game speed. Good guy, good instincts, but he did get beat a lot in coverages. But good instincts, that's what his, major ability was being able to sniff out the ball here and there. And, I wish him nothing but the best. So we'll see how he does in his rest of his career. Let's take a look, see if I got anything else loaded up in the clip here. Yes, we're going to play the last clip. This will probably be the last thing we talk about. I posted this a few days ago. I'm sure you guys know Patrick Peterson. He retired. He's now a retired cornerback. He's a great career. He'll probably go into the Hall of Fame. Maybe not first ballot, but he'll probably be a Hall of Fame cornerback at some point. Patrick Peterson was, a great Cardinal player. But he had a history of talking some trash against Mr. Brock Purdy. A couple years back when we played the Steelers, and Peterson was on the team, he says they got a lot of tells on their team. Brock's going to throw an interception or two, and I'm going to be the one that gets them. And then they asked Brock the question, and he goes, we'll see. He said, we'll see. And, he just kept it professional. So we'll see. How about that? He goes, Patrick Peterson's a great player. I respect him. And the way he said it was, we'll see. And Brock Purdy shredded him up, threw 2 touchdowns on his neck with Brandon Ayuk, and Ayuk just cooked him on one route. And after the game, they asked Peterson, and they said, hey, I thought you said he had some tells. He's like, oh, they did. I just, missed a split second here and there, and he was making excuses. During the game, Debo and Ayuk were laughing at him, and, oh, yeah, I thought he had those tells on us, haha. And, and then after the game, Brock Purdy was asked, were you trying to target Patrick Peterson? He goes, was one of those to Peterson? Oh, I don't know. Oh, but he goes, I know the second one for sure was on Peterson, something like that, where he made sure he, mentioned Peterson. Like, yeah, I was throwing towards him at part of the game. So that's the preface of this. So on Up and Adams' show, Patrick Peterson was asked about Brock Purdy. Does he believe he's worth $50 million? And every week, somebody different brings this topic up because it's like it's the most repetitive story right now because it hasn't gotten done. Brock Purdy contract, will he get signed? How much is he worth? How much is he going to get? And then there's different reports that always say, oh, he's going to get 50, he's going to get 53, he's going to get 54, he's only going to get 40, he's going to get 60. Whatever the report is, they always ask a player, is he worth it? And then there's this big dialogue, and that's what happened with Peterson this week. Kay Adams asked him, is Brock Purdy worth $50 million? And this was his answer.
So like $50 million is what they're saying. You think he's a $50 million guy?
Honestly, no. But what these quarterbacks are going for right now, that's kind of like the going rate. That's like the minimum.
Let's take a look really quick. We just have a couple seconds. Let's take a look at the list. Where would you slot him in this list, Patrick? Last question for you're seeing that this is, the cost. Where would you put him?
I mean, yeah, if you're looking at this, you got to put him above Trevor Lawrence. And honestly, he's gonna have to. Honestly, if you're looking at the numbers, he's probably gonna have to be above Josh Allen too because he's been in the Super Bowl. So he's getting at least 50.
He's getting at least 50. You say, yeah. So that's just the mark. You don't think?
I wouldn't pay him that. You asked me if I would pay him that. I wouldn't, but he's probably going to get 50.
So there you go. Patrick Peterson says he's honestly not worth 50, but because of the going rate, he's probably going to get it. But he says if it's up to me, I'm not paying him. I think he's salty that Brock Purdy dotted him up when they played last time. But you know what? Honestly, Brock Purdy, give him $50 million. At this point, we understand he's the market value. It's the next contract. I don't understand why everybody's arguing at this point. It's just, right? It's repetitive. It's ad nauseum. It's like every week, it's the same song and dance. Oh, is he worth 50? Is he worth 50? I think we've established it. He's worth the $50 million. Patrick Peterson can go cry because that's probably more money than Patrick Peterson made in a year, right? Or it definitely is. So I'm sure he's angry. He's a little jealous. He's got a little money envy there about Brock, but it is what it is. I mean, I get his point where he's coming from, but at the same time, I think Brock Purdy's worth $50 million. Come on, man. Brock Purdy's taken this team to a Super Bowl, NFC Championship. He's the last pick in the draft. He's proven himself time and time again. Like, is he the most elite quarterback? No, but he's better than a lot of those quarterbacks. He even mentioned it, He's in the range of Trevor Lawrence and, those guys that have that contract. He's gone to a Super Bowl. Trevor Lawrence hasn't done that. Josh Allen hasn't even went to a Super Bowl. Now, I think Josh Allen's a better quarterback than Brock. But, yeah, you have to reward Brock Purdy for what he's done in the league. And he's proven himself time and time again. He was in the MVP conversation a few years ago. So I think Peterson's just a little salty. So he isn't wrong. Hopefully Purdy takes a team-friendly deal, says Nav. I think he'll take $50 million and call it a day. We'll see how it goes. I definitely don't think it's going to be the 60, right? That was reported a few months ago. MSQ says, people say Hurts is better than Purdy, but who would be better if Purdy had Philadelphia's O-line and Hurts had Niners O-line? That's definitely a good topic to bring up. Definitely a good take because Brock Purdy, he's played behind a mediocre offensive line compared to the Eagles O-line. Like, yes, there's been some good players on the 49ers O-line, right? Trent Williams, probably the best left tackle in the last 2 decades. And then you have the Eagles, who have some of the best offensive linemen in the league perennially. The tush push, if Jalen Hurts is trying to do the tush push behind the 49ers O-line, his tush would be pushed on the ground. Like, he wouldn't be able to get a couple of yards here and there. He wouldn't be able to get the first down. He wouldn't be able to get the touchdown. His tush would be pushed so bad, he'd be probably dealing with a broken tush. So that's definitely a good topic. Who knows? Maybe Brock Purdy, if he had the Eagles online, he'd have all day to throw. Maybe he might be able to make a ham sandwich, throw a touchdown to Purcell. Who knows? So definitely a good point there, MSQ. Rick says he's angry. We owned him for many years. That might be true as well. Robbie says if Brock Purdy found a cure for cancer, people would complain he didn't do it fast enough. Let people keep talking. I think it fuels them. I think so too. I think that's a great way to put it. A lot of people hate on Brock. They just talk crap. Like, no matter if he does something good or bad, there's still but it's always like it's always something, more. They move the goalposts, right? What the term is, people move the goalposts. They 100% move the goalpost on Brock Purdy on like a daily basis, not even weekly basis, daily basis. So Rob says, I've been on $53 million annually. I'm sticking with it. I think that's definitely where we might see it, 50 to 53, 54 in that range, and annually, sometimes just because you're getting paid an annual amount, it depends on the guarantees and how all the incentives work out. So yeah, if you want to pay him $53 million annually, there's going to be a lot of incentives. There's going to be a lot of ways to kind of fill that 53, right? Just like Kittle's, right? He's got the 4 years to make it sound annually, but then there's the guaranteed money, and then there's the 2 years of options where he can, where they have an exit clause from his contract. So yeah, sometimes the annual number isn't always what the face value is if you understand the contract. So I think Brock's gonna get paid, and it's gonna be a fair contract. So AJ says, why so much hate towards Purdy? I mean, Purdy is humble. He's not demanding 50 plus millions. The dude behaves so professional. I don't get what they hate him. I don't know. I don't either. He definitely is a very humble. He's definitely a very, nice guy. He's just got no drama, man. Like you see other quarterbacks, there's always drama. There's always like this, that, the other. Brock's a chill guy, man. I don't got any beef with him. I think the media just hates him because they're jealous that the last pick of the draft is going to make more money than all of them. So I think a lot of it's just jealousy. I don't think people respect Brock because he was the last player that, picked. And there's a lot of people that just say, hey, now he's just getting opportunities because of that. It's a pity story or something, but he proves them wrong every week, and he proves himself over those people. And he's said it many times in interviews that he's just had to prove himself on a, daily basis, almost weekly basis. He's had to prove himself in high school, college, now the pros. So it's just life for Brock Purdy. So, Tanisha says Brock has been playing on less money than people on the practice squad for years. It's time to pay the man. The market is the market, and he stepped in and proved that he can be our QB. That's it. Point blank, period. He's played on a very, low contract. Obviously, he was last pick in the draft, and that's what comes with it. So, yeah, he had to earn it. He had to prove himself. But nobody at that pick has ever played the way Brock Purdy has ever played. So there's a precedent there. He set the precedent, and now he earned his money. Pay him what he deserves. And I agree with that. He's definitely proved himself, and you can't argue with it. So definitely agree with those takes. Good stuff. That's pretty much the news here. Let me double check, make sure we didn't miss anything. Again, rookie minicamp. There's been a lot of players also invited in terms of the rookie minicamp tryouts. There's going to be, right? It's the rookie minicamp, and they have players that they invite for tryouts and stuff. And of course, we talked about how the kicker, Kenny the kicker, is going to be one of those guys. There's been several. There's a quarterback from Georgia, Wake Forest, Hank Batchmeyer. There's been so many players that have been invited to rookie minicamp for, to see if they can maybe stick around and make the practice squad. 49ers invite a lot of these people. They may not make the roster initially, but they'll keep their number. And in the season, if they need to call up a guy to the practice squad or something, they may call him up. So we'll see how this goes. A couple of last-minute things here that we may not have talked about over the last couple of days. We saw Michael Williams. He finally got his number. It's going to be number 98. I thought that was cool. You got 97, 98 coming off the edges, Michael Bosa. Pretty cool. We all heard the story of the 49ers rookie quarterback, Curtis Rourke. He's actually drafted by the CFL. He's the Maple Missile. He's a huge deal in Canada. He's a Canadian quarterback, of course. And shout out to him. He's probably not going to play in the CFL, but he's got some options. If the NFL definitely doesn't work out for him, he'll be playing and lacing it up in the CFL one day. So pretty cool for him. We talked about the start of rookie minicamp set for May 9th through 10th. And last but not least, I want to congratulate Jason Verrett, former 49ers cornerback. Jason Verrett, he was inducted into the TCU Athletics Hall of Fame. What a good dude. Hell of a player. I wish he would have stayed healthy throughout his entire career. Even if, not just the Niners, his entire career was marred by injuries. He was a fantastic cornerback. I remember when he was coming out of college, he was the guy I wanted the 49ers to get. Of course, he didn't. Goes to the Chargers. But when he was healthy, he definitely one of the best cornerbacks in the league. But the problem was he wasn't healthy a lot. He had some of the most injuries of all time, and he kept trying. He kept coming back. He kept coming back. He kept trying. I loved his tenacity. Dude was cool behind the scenes. We talked a lot. He also commented on my post. I made the post for him, and I made the post to update the Niner fans because I thought it was pretty cool. And we pinned the comment, and he put, "Appreciate it, forever grateful for the Niner family." So shout out to Jason Verrett, man, such a cool dude, and I'm happy for him that he's got to be inducted into the TCU Hall of Fame. And much love to him. Much love to you guys. Make sure you guys hit that like button. We'll see you later. And then, as you know, we always say go Niners, but tonight, go Warriors. Let's get that dub in the Bay. Let's hope Game 6, Jimmy. It's not Game 6 Clay anymore. We got Game 6, Jimmy and Steph Curry. Let's get this dub. You guys have a good rest of your night. Have a good weekend. I love you. Go Niners.